Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return? No recognition, no reward, no guarantee that it would ever come back to you. Most people don't realize this, but some of the most important moments in our lives arrive disguised as ordinary encounters. A stranger, a small decision, a quiet act of kindness that seems to mean nothing at the time. But sometimes, those moments are everything. This is the story of a poor boy who chose kindness when it was the hardest thing to give, and how that single choice changed his life in a way he could have never imagined. In a small, dusty village at the edge of a long, forgotten road, there lived a boy named Arjun. Arjun had very little. His clothes were worn, his shoes had holes, and most days, he went to bed with an empty stomach. He lived with his grandmother in a tiny hut made of mud and tin. Every morning before sunrise, he would walk miles to collect scraps, odd jobs, anything that could earn him a few coins. Life had not been kind to him, and yet, somehow, he remained kind to life. One afternoon, after hours of searching for work under the burning sun, Arjun had earned just enough money to buy a small piece of bread. It wasn't much, but to him, it was everything. He hadn't eaten since the day before. As he sat under a tree, holding that piece of bread in his hands, he whispered to himself, "At least today, I won't sleep hungry." Just as he was about to take his first bite, he heard a weak voice. "Please, can you help me?" Arjun looked up and saw an old man standing a few steps away. His clothes were torn, his face covered in dust, and his body looked as if it could collapse at any moment. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," the old man said softly. For a moment, Arjun froze. In his hands was the only food he had, the only relief after a long, exhausting day. His stomach ached, his body felt weak, every part of him wanted to hold on to that bread. And this is where most people would look away. Not because they are bad, but because survival often speaks louder than compassion. Arjun looked at the bread, then at the old man, and then back at the bread again. His mind whispered, "You need this." But something deeper inside him said, "So does he." Slowly, without saying a word, Arjun stood up, walked toward the old man, and placed the bread in his hands. The old man looked surprised. "But, what about you?" he asked. Arjun smiled faintly. "I'll be okay." The old man's eyes softened. He took the bread, sat down, and began to eat. Before taking his first bite, he looked at Arjun and said something unusual. "Kindness given in hunger is never forgotten." Arjun didn't fully understand what he meant. He simply nodded and walked away, his stomach still empty, but his heart strangely full. That night, hunger kept him awake. His body felt weaker than ever before. For a brief moment, he wondered if he had made the wrong choice. But then, just before he fell asleep, he remembered the old man's eyes. And somehow, that was enough. The next morning, something unexpected happened. As Arjun stepped outside his hut, he saw a carriage unlike anything he had ever seen in his village. It was large, polished, and surrounded by well-dressed men. Confused, he walked closer. One of the men approached him and asked, "Are you Arjun?" He nodded, unsure. "Someone wants to meet you." Arjun hesitated, but curiosity pulled him forward. He was led to the carriage, where he saw a familiar face sitting inside. It was the old man. But he no longer looked weak or broken. His clothes were clean and elegant, his posture was strong, his eyes, calm, yet powerful. Arjun stood frozen. "I believe you recognize me," the man said gently. What is this?" Arjun asked. The man smiled. "Yesterday, I was a stranger in need. Today, I am someone who has the ability to change your life." Arjun couldn't speak. "I travel from place to place," the man continued, "not to find the richest or the strongest, but to find those who choose kindness even when they have nothing." He paused, then added, "And yesterday, you chose to give away your only meal." Arjun lowered his eyes. "It was just bread." The man shook his head. "No, it was everything you had." There was a silence that followed, the kind that carries weight. Then the man said something Arjun would never forget. "Most people give when it is easy. Very few give when it hurts. And those who do, are the ones the world quietly opens doors for." The man reached into his coat and handed Arjun a small pouch. Inside were more coins than Arjun had ever seen in his life. But that wasn't all. "I also own a school in the nearby town," the man said, "and I would like you to study there. Food, shelter, education, everything will be taken care of." Arjun's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this for me?" he whispered. The man looked at him with quiet certainty. Because you did something rare, you proved that your heart is not controlled by your circumstances. Years passed. Arjun studied, grew, and built a life he once thought was impossible. He became successful, respected, and known for his generosity. But he never forgot that day. He never forgot the hunger. And he never forgot the choice. One evening, as he sat by a window overlooking the same village he once struggled in, someone asked him, "What was the turning point in your life?" Arjun smiled and said, "The day I gave away the only thing I had." It sounds strange, doesn't it? How losing something can actually be the moment everything begins. But if you look closely, you'll see this truth everywhere. We hold on tightly to what we have, especially when it feels like it's not enough. We believe that giving will leave us with less, that kindness is a luxury reserved for those who can afford it. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, the very thing we're afraid to let go of is the key to something greater. Arjun didn't know who that man was. He didn't know what would happen next. There was no guarantee, no promise, only a choice. And that's how life often tests us. Not with big, obvious moments, but with small, quiet decisions that reveal who we really are. Will you choose fear, or will you choose faith? Will you hold on, or will you trust enough to let go? Because the truth is, you never really know who you're helping. And you never really know what door that one act of kindness might open. So if life puts you in a moment where you have a chance to give, even when it's hard, even when it feels like you can't afford to, remember this story. Not because kindness always brings rewards, but because it always reveals something powerful about you. And sometimes, that is exactly what changes everything.